Hello, my name is Zachary Brooks, and today I will be analyzing Arizona's language development approach. First, I will talk about Arizona's definition of an English learner. An English learner is someone who does not speak English, whose native language is not English, and cannot do the work in a regular English classroom. Now, I will talk about the preschool through 12th grade demographics. So ELs make up about 6% of the preschool through 12th grade population. Their top languages include Spanish, Arabic, Vietnamese, Navajo, and Somali. 75.6% of EL students are Spanish speakers, 2% are Arabic speakers, 0.8% are Vietnamese speakers, 0.7% are Navajo speakers, and 0.6% are Somali speakers. Structured English immersion is used to give students 4 hours of intensive English language training. They focus quite a bit on how the English language works, including pronunciation, syntax, and vocabulary. The belief is that students need to know the basics of English in order to be able to master the language so then they can learn how to read, write, speak, and listen. This is different from sheltered English instruction, where they adapt English to the level of the students, but they focus more on the content first, such as like science or history, etc. The 4 principles to Arizona language development is asset-based behaviors and expectations, integrated instruction and disciplinary language and content, targeted and explicit language instruction, and the last one, assessment, monitoring, and feedback. So, asset-based behaviors and expectations is acknowledging that students' biliteracy is an asset and something to be respected. Integrated instruction and disciplinary language and content means using differentiated language and giving students opportunities to work with one another. Targeted and explicit language instruction means allowing for students to use their language skills to engage in critical thinking. Assessment, monitoring, and feedback means using assessment to engage in meaningful feedback. And for the record, student agency is very important for teaching English learners. This might mean giving them lessons that reflect both them and their culture. This will also go along with the Arizona language development approach, which shows that their culture is indeed an asset and respected. This will in turn make them more likely to participate in instruction and try to learn English. Arizona has some approved SEI models. The first one is Newcomer. Newcomer is meant for students who have just arrived in the United States and have been in school for less than a year. They will work with other newcomers to learn, but they cannot miss core instruction during the week. The second one is Pull-Out. Pull-Out is meant for students who have a better grasp on English. They are merely pulled out of class to help learn English. 2 hours required for students who know English well, and 1 content area will be made for each other. The 50-50 dual language immersion is when a student spends half the day learning English and the other half in core subjects. Parents have to sign a waiver before the student can participate in 50-50 dual language immersion. Now, in order to determine EL eligibility, they have to take this test known as the AZELA. The AZELA is a test that tests out their English. The AZELA placement score, which combines listening, reading, writing, and speaking, is used to determine how students are placed. AZELA is a placement test to assess and reassess where a student's performance scores are at. This determines whether they are placed in basic, intermediate, or proficient. This will also determine their placement within the SEI models, or if they even need to be classified as an EL. Students taking the AZELA are limited in accommodation since they could invalidate the results. Some examples of this include, but are not limited to, having speech-to-text or a glossary, as they could invalidate the results. It is also important that the student be familiar with the accommodations in order for them to work. Now, parents/guardians do have rights when it comes to their students. Schools have to get written permission from the parents/guardians before the student can be tested. Of course, parents/guardians can request that their child be tested to see if they actually need to be an EL student or not. If the parents/guardians are able to speak English, then the school must provide an interpreter. If parents/guardians have any complaints, they can always contact the government. And these next two slides are my reference pages.